Okay, hi. It's not Sandra on the on the screen you might see. We have Craig and we have Andres. How you doing, guys? Can you just introduce yourselves very quickly to the audience?
I'm Andries, and obviously a Springbok supporter, as you can see.
Oh, sorry, that's a short introduction for you. I'm Craig. I'm an All Blacks supporter, as you can see. I am from New Zealand, but like Andres, we're living here in Perth, Western Australia.
Fantastic. And these guys run a really good podcast. Where's My Sport? Is that what it's called, I believe?
Yes, that's correct. Where's My Sports at?
Excellent. And we'll have a little chat about that, halfway through, something like that. But what I wanted was, whilst I got these guys here, we don't often get, a Springbok fan and New Zealand fan, a Kiwi fan sitting right next to each other. Good friends as well, I believe. I think still good friends.
It's our second World Cup.
Yes, so we have an opportunity to test the relationship there every now and again.
Absolutely. And these guys, experienced rugby fans, rugby players, they may well be in their late 20s. I don't know. I haven't asked them, but experienced fans. Let's get straight into it. Let's rip the plaster off. I want to get a feeling of what this rivalry is like. Let's go back to that World Cup final not too long ago. Craig, can we start with you? What were your feelings, your honest feelings, now the dust has settled, before the final, and how did it progress through the final?
Mate, I knew you were going to start with me.
Yeah.
Actually, the night before the final, Andres and his family came over for dinner. We had a big get together and had a lovely barbecue, and I was pretty confident we were going to win. And then the game rolled around, and we know what happened in the game, and we lost, and it took about 6 weeks before us to get back together and have a beer.
Was it literally like that? Was it 6 weeks before you could watch any highlights or anything like that?
I don't think I've really watched any highlights yet, mate. It's sort of like I'm just blanking that out for now. But well done to the Springboks, and it's just more, the sadness of losing and not wanting to revisit it.
What was the actual feeling like? At what point did you think, was it highs and lows? Did you think you were going to win it? Were there any events in the final that you can really remember?
A lot of them, mate. A lot of them, obviously, that red card, and not knocking Wayne Barnes. I thought Wayne Barnes played well, reffed well. And he seemed loath to make any big decisions that would have outcomes on it. I thought the All Blacks had an amazing second half, and maybe that's probably a little bit that hurts, is probably wasn't recognised how well that 14 players played against 15 in a World Cup final. Everyone talks about, how wonderful the Springboks were, and congratulations to them winning 2 World Cups in a row. But for a few meters of one of those kicks going through, they might have been talking about how 14 All Blacks won the World Cup, but that's just me. It still hurts, mate.
Yeah, but I mean, that's cup rugby. I think we were saying this the other day. It's like that's the point. It's such fine margins. It's not a league where it's averaged out. It's just, glory and defeat are just inches away. Andres, let's come to you then. Before the World Cup, what were you feeling? How confident were you?
I was confident because I knew that Rassie and his coaching team were actually targeting this World Cup before the previous World Cup, and that the win in 2019 was really a bonus win for them. They didn't actually truly believe that they could win that one. So they put in a lot of effort. They had a very stable coaching team. Despite all of that, I was extremely nervous, and I must say, I recall the game was played very early in the morning, our time, so we had to get up at 1:30 to go and watch the game, and it was a tense affair, obviously, for the full 80 minutes, and afterwards, it was a sense of relief more than massive joy that we had won, because the game was absolutely nail-bitingly close. And that's, I think, what Springbok fans certainly want, is a close rivalry with the All Blacks. We wouldn't have wanted to play any other team in the final. And it's what young boys grow up and dream about doing since they are, they have their first memories.
Okay, well, let's go back to that then. So, when you were younger, obviously you're very young now, but when you were even younger, what did it feel like growing up with this rivalry? How did you kind of get into it? What, as a youngster, how are you kind of bred into this rivalry? Andres, should we start with you?
Yeah, I think if you play backyard cricket in South Africa, then the rivalry would be with Australia, and you'd be dreaming about facing up to Shane Warne or somebody. Whereas with rugby, it's as a South African, it's all about the All Blacks, and what I remember is having just the greatest respect for All Black players. Thinking back, players like Jeff Wilson, Zinzan Brooke, Sean Fitzpatrick, where you're actually just in awe of these players and their abilities. So I think the level of stretch that goes into the abilities of the Springboks when they play against the All Blacks, I think they become a better version of themselves when they play against the All Blacks. Yes, it's just an absolute dream, and being able to watch that is, I think at the beginning of every year, that's we go and check the calendar and start counting the days, not towards Christmas, but to when we play the All Blacks.
Yeah, and I was saying, I think the other day, what a shame it would be if the Springboks ever moved north and went out of the Rugby Championship. Those dates on the calendar would go. Craig, so you growing up, what was your kind of experience of this rivalry?
It's very intense. They are definitely the old foe. And I think probably similarly with South Africa and New Zealand, we're fairly isolated. We're way down the bottom of the world, as opposed to, say, England, Scotland, and Ireland right next to each other. There's a lot more commingling. So you grow up in a bubble of just, it's you against them. And yeah, definitely they were the evil competition that we played, that we just had to beat, but you still had massive respect for their players, and it's technically my second favorite team won the World Cup, but I'd rather have my first favorite team win the World Cup. So, you definitely, guys like Nas bought it when I was a kid. While you might say we're in our 20s, I think you're being a bit kind to us, probably a little bit older than that. But yeah, I grew up with guys like that, and yeah, it's big.
Well, I thought England was everyone's second favourite team. But that's interesting, though, because I think over here where I am, like when I grow up, you always mix with loads of Welsh people at university, full of Welsh fans, Welsh players, Scottish, Irish, etc. So the rivalry is absolutely there, but we don't feel as isolated. That's a really interesting point. And I think something I get out of the comments is that fierce, passion for the nation, kind of like it's us against the world, which I really like, that fight. And you're saying that's still there with New Zealand and South Africa.
Oh, I can only speak from one side, but looking at a lot of the comments myself on the World Cup, I think that's the same with the South Africans. It's very much, us against the world. We're just little places at the bottom of the world, and we're fighting against everyone else. But moving here out of that bubble to Perth, and actually probably Andrews was the first South African I met in my mid-40s. How'd you like that? That's quite unusual. And we were working together, and since then, we've got a great friendship, and I think that's just been really good to not position them as the old foe so much. It's more about other people who just love the game as much as you do.
Yeah, and I think that is the beauty of rugby, the mixing, isn't it? The fact that fans can sit together and support their teams as fiercely as they can, but actually still get on in the crowd and not have fights. And you couldn't do it in other sports like football, but you can still do it in rugby, and long may that continue. Let's just finish on the World Cup final then. Andres, any players you want to shout out that you thought were particular legends in that World Cup who you think were absolute key to the Springboks?
I think all of them, like I said, they just go to the next level when they play against the All Blacks. And I think one of the things that stand out is, and I forgot what the comment was now, but it is them chasing things like, the impossible. If you think about Colby's charge down of a penalty kick against France.
And conversion, I guess it would be.
Oh, conversion, that's right. And so things like that stand out for me. I think Yeben Etzebeth played out of his skin. He does that every game. The defense was just absolutely incredible. I mean, how many times does the All Blacks you score 4 to 6 tries a game. It's unusual to see them not do that. So the defense was absolutely amazing. Yeah. The player that stands out for me, of course, I have to mention him, is Dion Fourie.
Okay.
37-year-old man who made his debut as a Springbok at, I think, age 36. He became the oldest. He was the oldest Springbok on debut. And he was actually the captain on the field at the end of the World Cup final.
That's crazy.
So making that, and having to step up and play when Bongi and Bonambi got injured in the first 2 minutes of the game. So that was a pivotal moment, and nobody would have said what we thought it anything funny if the Boks lost the game from there because of that incident. But just a true champion. He stood up and played 78 minutes of a World Cup final at 38 years of age. Absolute credit to him.
Yeah, what a story, coming from kind of obscurity to to being a key member and on the field at the end there. Yeah, right. That's absolutely amazing. I mean, I would just remember those tackles. I was watching it again last night just in preparation for this, and those tackles from like Khaleesi, Peter Steph du Toit. Particular shout outs, Craig, players you thought distinguished themselves for the All Blacks?
The All Blacks, definitely Ardie. Ardie seemed to fill the position that Kane had as well. He was superhuman, and definitely feel for him. But I think Peter Steph as well, and Quagga Smith. Love Quagga Smith. I know Andres probably thinks Quagga's a bit past
He doesn't play for the All Blacks.
No, he doesn't. But he does. My second favourite team, and you got to respect the opposition who play well, and those definitely stood out. It's a game where defence won it, wasn't it?
Yeah, big time. Ardie Savea is, like you say, a Superman, absolute Superman, and I don't think that was diminished at all, was it, in that World Cup final?
No.
I'll tell you what, guys, tell us about this podcast. Tell us about your soon-to-be YouTube channel, because it sounds very exciting.
Thanks, mate. So our podcast is Where's My Sports At? It started off from a group chat of a bunch of friends who love sports, and it grew from friends to friends of friends. You know how Facebook Messenger chats can go. And then so I reached out and said, guys, why don't we actually just do this as a podcast? Because it's people here in Perth, from different backgrounds, people in New Zealand from different backgrounds, and people who love a lot of different sports. So we just started getting together and recording podcasts. We're on all of the major podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple, iHeart. And with your encouragement, we've also starting to go over to YouTube as well and record some of our podcasts on video and put them on YouTube. But we're moving sort of in the way of doing interviews, with people such as yourself, or people who are sports people currently, or previous sports people, or people involved with sports. We're sports lovers, and what's one way to be able to connect and ask these questions of people that you follow or idolize, then start a sports podcast and ask them to come along for a chat.
Fantastic. Yeah, do follow the guys. We're going to have a chat after this, aren't we, on your podcast, maybe YouTube as well. That'll be cool. So just to finish off with, guys, looking towards the rivalry to the future, we have Rassie versus Razor. I mean, that's a headline right there, isn't it? What are you expecting? Either of you can all butt in, I don't mind, but what are you expecting from this rivalry, from your new coach, your new team? Who's going first?
I'll go first. I think from my perspective, both will bring innovation to the game. What I've read about Razor is that he has said that he will be looking at reinventing himself. And I think that is the thing with Rassie, is that he has, every time he has come up with something new. The 2019 World Cup was all about the scrum power, and the Springboks, the 2023 World Cup, there was a very different dynamic with the Springboks, I think, focusing more on what they were presenting to the referees than most people actually realized. That the British and Irish Lions taught the Springboks a number of lessons, hard lessons, in terms of how they need to respect the referees and work with them. And yes, it's going to be really interesting with Razor to see how he steps up. Looking forward to it.
Well, Craig, I know you kind of love Rassie as well, don't you? You've got a book of his, haven't you?
No, that was Andre's book. Thank you very much. And he gave it to me the night before the World Cup, but it took about a week or two for me to actually start it. You know, just that emotion after the game. But from Razor, I'm looking from Razor is that he believes more in that create a champion team as opposed to a team of champions. You know, Foz did really well, and credit to him. He did a lot better than what I thought he would at this World Cup, but he's in love with having superstars on the field out of position. I think that's something New Zealand rugby, if we look back at previous World Cups, has done before when we haven't done so well. So I think, well, I hope that he works on the best players in that position, not playing players out of position just to have someone on the field that is got the potential to break open a game. And I think rugby's moved past at that level, moved past where one player can make such a big difference. It's a team game and the team makes a difference, not one guy.
So are you expecting Ardy back to 7 and Will Jordan to 15? Is this what you're thinking?
It's the chat we were having the other day. Definitely Will Jordan to 15. I'm hoping he throws a bit of caution to the wind, because being his first year, people will forgive you for your mistakes if they can see that you're building towards something. We've got the next World Cup 2027, but is it 2025 or 2026 is the Nations Cup?
Well, to be confirmed, I think. But
So
it's in the years in between the World Cup and the Lions, isn't it?
It is. And I did read the other day that the Springboks will most likely stay in the Southern Hemisphere because you need 4 teams in each of these areas. So they'll stay down here. Was it 4 or 6? No, 6, because obviously you got the 6 nations.
Yeah.
You need
6 nations, and then Japan and Fiji, I think.
That's it. So they will definitely be staying down here, I hope.
Yeah.
So it seems.
Fantastic. Okay, guys, let's wrap it up there. That was brilliant. Just wanted to have a chat to an All Blacks fan and to a Springboks fan who are still friends. I think that is the essence of rugby. And long may the rivalry continue, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.